There are so many aftermarket lights for the 09 to 18 Ram that it's really hard to choose which one's best. In this very long video, we're gonna do our best to break down all of the features, the light output, the price, the warranty, to truly find out which one we would recommend to put on your Ram. We did our best to purchase some of the most popular. We've got 3 different headlights from Alpharex. We actually got 4 different ones from Morimoto, their old one, and the Morimoto XB Evo, the new headlight they came out with. We've also got stuff like Alpha Owl, Pokey Auto, which was crap, and Form and a few others. So first thing I want to do is talk about the features. Now, if your vehicle came equipped with your stock reflector housings, they look something like this. That has no startup feature. The light source is a halogen bulb. For low beam, it uses an H11 halogen bulb. For high beam, it's a 9005 halogen bulb. These bulbs burn out. This is the last thing you want. There's no daytime running light at all on these headlights, and then when you hit the turn signal, it's a slow on and a slow off. No additional features on this headlight. Your vehicle might have also came with this headlight, which is the projector headlight. It uses a halogen bulb in that projector, and that projector seems to do low beam and high beam. The light right next to it is still a halogen bulb, and that comes on just for high beam, and it's reflector based. And you do got a daytime running light, and it comes all the way across the headlight, which looks a little bit better than the stock reflector, and that is your turn signal. There's no other additional features here, and you are gonna have to replace these bulbs in the future. Now I've got the GTR Lighting carbide headlight installed. As you can see, there is no startup feature, but it is a complete LED housing. It uses 3 bi-LED projectors for low beam that also perform the high beam. And you do got a severely bright daytime running light on the top and bottom there. That is very bright. I haven't been able to get it to parking light mode, so I don't believe this has a parking light mode. The DRLs do dim down when you have your headlights on though. You do get that sequential turn signal. This is the first time you'll see a sequential turn signal where it scrolls and chases itself. You cannot change the way this functions. It is always a sequential turn signal. This is a newcomer, and the form lights are actually pretty sweet. Check this out. When you hit the startup feature, it looks like this. This is the first time you're seeing a startup feature. This does nothing for performance, it just looks really cool. One of my favorite startup features for any Ram headlight. For low beam, both LED projectors come on, and those are bi-LED projectors, so they both do low beam and high beam to produce your beam pattern. The daytime running light color is white, as you can see here, and this is the first time you're gonna see it dim down to give you a true parking light. So when you're driving around during the day, it's gonna be that nice bright white color, and it dims down when your lights are on as well. Your turn signal is sequential. It's got that scrolling effect, just like you saw on the carbide. The only thing that really stands out to me is when this headlight's off, those DRLs are really blinging. This next piece of we installed is called the Pokey Auto. To be honest, it looks like trash. I do not like this headlight, and you're definitely gonna know it. When you hit that startup feature, you're kinda like, what the hell is that? Honestly, it looks so weird. I think it has something to do with the inconsistency of the daytime running light at the top and bottom. There's like, what, 11 LED chips here? They could have done a little bit better on that. What you're seeing here is the white daytime running light. You can, out of this same headlight, get an amber daytime running light or a white daytime running light. You can change it with just a connector on the backside. I don't see any specific parking light mode. It's just a dim DRL mode, and I can't get this thing to get any brighter. You do have a sequential turn signal. It utilizes the bottom half of that daytime running light across the whole headlight. Now this one's the Morimoto XB. This is the original Morimoto headlight that came out. And when you turn it on, you do not have a startup feature. There is LED projectors, and they are very bright. They were one of the brightest on the market for a very long time. They're bi-LED projectors. They do both low beam and high beam, and they do have an extremely bright daytime running light. You can also dim these back down to get to your parking lights. Also, same thing, it's a true DRL, so when you're driving around during the day, they're gonna be super bright. And it has a turn signal that is a standard blink option, or you can disconnect or connect the wiring on the backside to then make it a sequential turn signal. You're also gonna notice that the daytime running lights were white. If you wanted the amber version, Morimoto did make an amber version, but it's a completely different headlight housing. So you need to decide right away which one you want, the white daytime running light or the amber daytime running light. This is what the amber daytime running light looks like, and that one is the exact same way. It has a standard turn signal or a sequential turn signal. You can choose how that operates with the connector on the back side. Now we got the Morimoto XB Evo Hybrid. This headlight straight away is gonna be way better than what you just saw, their original XB. This does not have a startup feature unless you use this additional supercharged driver on the backside. It does make it no longer DOT compliant. However, it does give you about 30% more brightness. Then it unlocks this small startup feature where the two projectors chase each other. That third projector is actually just a dummy projector, and it's not in the XP Evo Hybrid. They have two bi-LED projectors. The daytime running light is white, and it's super bright. It's got a different surface texture, so it's consistently bright no matter which angle you are standing and looking at this headlight. It does dim down and give you that beautiful parking light as well. The turn signal looks like this. It's a standard blinking turn signal, and it's like this slow fade off effect. You cannot change the way that this turn signal functions, and you do not have an amber version of the hybrid. If you want to step it up to Morimoto's greatest offering, you got this right here, which is the Morimoto XP Evo. This is the top dog. This has got everything you need. A startup feature that looks just like this, and it really uses the projectors to do the talking and less of the daytime running light like some of the other products you just saw. They still have those two LED projectors that are bi-LED. They do both low beam and high beam. They're extremely intense. And then there's a third one that's no longer a dummy projector in the Morimoto XP Evo. It is now the D optic. It's a high beam assist. So on high beam, you get much more output out of these headlights over the hybrids. You'll notice a white daytime running light. It's extremely bright, same surface texture as the hybrids. And that daytime running light can be switched with a key on the back side of the headlight housing. You can go from an amber or a white. That key also dictates how your turn signal functions. You could have that standard fade off like you just saw in the hybrid version, or a sequential turn signal as well. As far as additional features go, Morimoto did go one step further, and they integrated this heater in there, which then allows you to drive around in the middle of the freezing tundra, and no longer will you have snow or ice buildup. You know, LEDs don't get as hot as those halogen bulbs your original headlights came with. So to overcome that buildup, they integrated this heater, and when it's cold enough and all conditions are met, you can engage it by flashing your high beam 4 times. It will then flash back twice to let you know that it's engaged. They also have that supercharged driver. If you wanted to get an additional 30% or so of light output, you can replace the original driver this one came with for more brightness. Again, that is no longer DOT compliant. Now, if you're somebody that likes installing stuff that looks more aftermarket, Morimoto also made an XP Evo with RGB daytime running lights. That means you can choose any color you want through the Morimoto app. All the features and functions are exactly the same as what you just saw from the Morimoto XP Evo. The only difference is now you have the opportunity to change that daytime running light to whatever color you want, and you do lose that heater function. There's just so much going on in this headlight, they couldn't include the heater function for this headlight. The projectors are exactly the same. The low beam, high beam, and the D optic is all the same. Even the keys on the backside will still operate the daytime running light, and you can just turn off the RGB function in the app to give you that white daytime running light or the amber daytime running light. And those keys, again, can still switch the turn signal from a fade off effect to a sequential turn signal. The turn signals, as you can see, don't just have that one on the bottom. The entire daytime running light on the headlight scrolls or has that fade off effect. Now here's a funky looking headlight that we installed. This is called the Alpha Owl, and I don't see a startup feature. Also, I don't believe that this headlight was designed for a projector headlight vehicle, so if you had a projector headlight vehicle, this probably won't work for you. On low beam, I see 4 LED projectors, and then on the bottom, you're gonna see the high beam. That's actually a reflector-based high beam. It's still LED, but I can't imagine this is a really good output. When I installed this, I couldn't get it to do any daytime running light. However, when you turn on parking lights, you're gonna notice that brighter white on the top and then the amber below, which also is the turn signal. At least it's a sequential turn signal. Now I have the Alpharex Lux 2500 style installed, and straight away I can tell you I don't like this headlight. It has a startup feature, but it's not very bright at all. That's the first thing you'll notice. Alpharex has some really good headlights out there, but I don't think this one's it. This is your low beam. It's got that dedicated bi-LED projector. That one does both low beam and high beam. There's just one. The daytime running light does look like this. That replicates the newer Rams or the HDs, but again, that's not very bright. This is what parking light looks like. Weirdly enough, it gets even less bright, and then you've got your turn signal, and that is a sequential turn signal. This is what the Alpharex Lux looks like, and to be honest, that daytime running light looks super unique when this is off. This is unlike any other daytime running light or any other headlight housing you see. It's much darker. I honestly thought it was like a 3D printed daytime running light before I illuminated it. It does have a startup feature, and it is pretty unique. It has a dedicated LED for low beam and a dedicated LED for high beam. Chances are the light output is going to be pretty good because I generally see a good light output with dedicated high beam. Could be wrong. When you hit the turn signal, the bottom is that sequential turn signal. I don't believe you're able to change the color of this daytime running light. It's all white, and you also cannot change how the turn signal functions. Now this is the Alpharex Nova. As you can tell, it looks a lot different. So these are what they call ice cube projectors, and there's 4 of them. It looks like there's 3 dedicated for low beam. That one towards the center of the vehicle is a dedicated high beam. As you can see, we do have a white daytime running light with an option from the back side of this headlight housing to then make it an amber as well. So you can choose either one when you're running it on your vehicle. It also has a parking light that looks like this. And when you hit the turn signal, this is one of the most obvious turn signals because the entire headlight scrolls. And that additional light below the 2 daytime running lights also scrolls with it. So the entire headlight is sequential. Now it's one thing to have good features, but the light output is what separates a good headlight from a great headlight. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of these headlights and put them against the stock reflector that you see illuminated over there and the stock projector. We're going to give you guys an overall score. We want a low beam and a high beam and an overall score. We're using that multi-point testing system. It's fairly complicated, but it does take into account the foreground, the width, and everything in between, and then gives you that one beautiful number that's usually between 1 and 10 to compare one headlight to another. Click the link in the description below to really see what we did to get this number. It wasn't right here in the studio. It was all done by a third party, and we did our best to be as accurate as possible. Starting with the benchmark, the OEM reflector headlight housing. Not all of your trucks are going to have this. It might also have that projector like I was saying. The OEM reflector did not do so hot. The low beam distance score was a 2.3. The high beam distance score was a 3.7 with a terrible width score of 1.7. The overall rating was a 2.7. Now you hardly get an improvement on your low beam with the OEM projector. I got a 2.4 distance zone score with the high beam a 2.0. Weirdly, that high beam score was worse than the reflector version. And the width score was worse too at a 1.2 with an overall rating of 2.2. So taking into account low road center coverage, the low width coverage, the high distance object illumination, and everything in between, it's a worse headlight. Yeah, that high beam has an additional reflector beam coverage along with that bi-halogen projector. The area of coverage is decent, but the intensity is poor, making the overall impression weak. The high beam didn't even meet regulation required minimum intensity, but we'll save that for a whole nother video. Now this is the GTR Lighting carbide headlight. They make a damn good LED bulb for this vehicle, but it didn't perform the greatest when it came to the light output. I got a 1.3 distance zone score on low beam, a 1.1 on high beam, a 2.8 width score, so that's better, giving this an overall rating of a 1.0. The output of this headlight is super high, but the effectiveness of the light output is a little bit hindered due to the foreground illumination. Now this is the Form light output. I'm really interested to see this one because it is a newcomer. Form hasn't been around for 10 years like some of these brands have. The low beam distance zone score was a 1.2. with a high beam of a 2.4 and a width score that's a bit worse than the GTR Lighting one at a 1.8. The overall score is a 2.3. This is another one of those cases where there's a large, ample amount of light output, but it's kind of hindering the driver's experience with so much foreground light. Remember, when there's too much foreground light in front of you, it actually blinds you instead of allowing you to see far into the distance, which is what you need when you have a good headlight. All right, now here is Pokey Auto. I'm probably saying that wrong, but who gives a crap because the low beam was terrible at a 0.6. The worst low beam you've seen so far, worse than even the OEM reflector or projector. On high beam, I got a distance zone score of 2.3 and a width score of 1.2. The overall rating on this headlight is a 1.9. Again, another foreground heavy headlight. Not to mention that high beam covers the largest flood size. It gives you so much illumination, but not where you want it, which is down the road. Now this is what I found interesting. This is the Morimoto XP headlight that came out so long ago. This was one of the first aftermarket headlight housings I've ever been a part of when it comes to headlight revolution. This was like our bread and butter, our foundation. It was such a good headlight and so much better than the others at the time this came out. Interestingly enough, on low beam, it still got a 7.2 for the distance zone score, and high beam was a 6.9 with a width score of 3.1. The overall rating is a 5.5. Now I will say, since using this multi-point testing system, these are probably the highest numbers I've seen from an original Morimoto XB housing. They did a really good job on these Rams. That high beam is actually a little bit too intense and it's above the regulation allowance. It's a great beam pattern, however that hotspot size is on the smaller side. Now, since Morimoto came out with a new headlight, we had to include this. This is the XB Evo Hybrid, so this is the entry level of the new headlights. On low beam, I got a distance zone score of 6.4, a high beam zone score of a 6.4, and a width score of a 4.0. So the overall rating on this headlight is a 6.4. Remember, this headlight housing does not have that high beam assist. This is just a dummy projector, so it just uses those two Bio-LED projectors. But there is a hack, and that is if you install the Supercharged driver. You get much more light output, and it looks like this. Now you're gonna see your low beam and your high beam distance zone score shoot up to 7.2 with that width score of 6.7. I'm gonna say it for the third time. That doesn't make it DOT compliant because it is tube right now at this point. However, it's still wicked, it's still cool, and I highly recommend getting this in your vehicle. The overall rating of this headlight with the Supercharged driver is a 7.3. Now this is their most expensive version, the top of the line Morimoto XB Evo, their new headlight. And it doesn't matter if you have the RGB version or just the XB Evo, both of these have the same projectors and the same light outputs. The distance zone score was a 6.7. On high beam, it was a 7.1. Because you got that high beam assist, it gives you a little more punch of light. That width score is a 4.1 with the overall rating of 6.9. Again, this one you can also install that Supercharged driver. Here you're gonna see a low beam zone score of 6.9, a high beam that absolutely pierces the darkness. This is the best and brightest one I've seen so far at a 9.4 with the width score of 4.8. The overall rating of this headlight is a 7.9. Now this is the Alpha Owl. I find it funny that naming your headlight after an owl, we'll save that for another video too. The zone score on low beam was a 0.6, high beam was a 1.2 with a width score of 1.6. Because I only got an overall rating of 0.8, which is really dumb. One of the engineers here said this has a useless optical design and it's essentially a spot only slightly wider. In parentheses he wrote, avoid, not safe. I get it, let's move on. This is an Alpharex Lux headlight and I got a low beam score of 1.8, a high beam score of 4.4, and a width score of 1.7 with that overall rating of a 3.2. It's got kind of a weak low beam, let's be real here, with some modest amount of road coverage at the center. Thankfully, it doesn't have that excessive foreground light that usually kills the rest of the quality. That separate, dedicated high beam adds a good amount of light spread. Here's another Alpharex Lux headlight. I measured 3.4 on low beam, a 3.9 on high beam, and a width score of 3.8 with an overall rating of 3.8. That's better than the last Alpharex one you just saw. It's a very powerful light that just does not work well on the road. That road center coverage is very bright, with the high beam covering tall and wide, but you do get a bit more foreground, making this not as good as it probably could have been. Now this is the Alpharex Nova. The light output looks a lot different here. On low beam, I got a 1.6. On high beam, I got a 5.3 with a width score of 2.6. The overall rating is a 3.6. All three of these Alpharex headlights were in the 3s. They were so-so as far as output goes. Honestly, I think these Ice Cube projectors can be a little bit of an issue. The high beam output of this Alpharex Nova series though is pretty dang good. I know that was a lot of talking, but it's really important to have a headlight that actually performs instead of just looks good. Now, there's also a warranty to consider. The GTR Lighting Carbide headlight has a 2-year limited warranty. The Form headlight has the same 2-year warranty. The Pokiato headlight was a 6-month warranty, and the original Morimoto XB had a 5-year limited warranty. Same for the XB Evo Hybrid, the XB Evo, and the XRGB Evo. All of those from Morimoto also had a 5-year warranty. Alpha Owl that we got from Amazon only had a 1-year warranty. and all 3 Alpharex headlights that I've shown you so far have a 2-year warranty. And lastly, if you want to upgrade these to something that's actually good, you also got to worry about how much money it is. We're in a weird time in this world, and at the time of this video, we've got this tariff crisis and all these things going on, so all these prices will change. Just note that in the video at this time, this is what the prices are. For the last 10 years of my life, I've made videos about lights on a Ram. This is my 108th video that I've made on this YouTube channel alone. I've seen every single type of headlight. The crap, the good headlights, bad LEDs, bad HIDs, bad everything. And what you've seen in this video, I can tell you is some of the best and brightest. They are pretty expensive. If those prices scare you, you could probably just go with the bulb. To save you a lot of time, the Ultra 3 bulb is the brightest bulb to put in your reflector or projector headlight housings. If you have the extra money to buy a housing, I highly recommend staying with something that had a good light output and features that you actually liked. It really is my goal to be as unbiased on this channel as possible, but I do want to let you guys know we are owned by the same organization that owns Morimoto Lighting, so them who own Morimoto own us as well. It's still my goal to be as unbiased as possible, and we truly do test a ton of third-party brands as well to give you guys a good perspective when it comes to finding the best headlights. Go to headlightrevolution.com today to see all of the pod lights we've tested, interior lights, third brake lights, and so much more.